Symbolism Productions.
What does God look like? What do you see?
We're solar-powered biological AI.
Wait, what?
These ancient adversarial entities, I think it's the very same ones that rebelled against God and were cast out.
They were sent here to guide us in antiquity, and they took advantage of that and just masqueraded as gods.
What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Hope everybody had a good week. Welcome back to the Grey-Pilled Podcast. I am your host, Jules, the Elohim etymologist, sound scientist. So if you haven't been here before, welcome. Tonight, I have a long-awaited guest. Been waiting about a year to get our time zone synced up, or to get to a place where we could both have a couple hours to kind of talk about some things, have some discussions. We have a lot of the same things in common, guys. I have on Todd Cave from the Conscious Man 7 podcast. I said that correctly, right?
That's correct.
Todd, it's good to see you, man. How are you doing? What's going on?
Well, thanks for having me, Jules. It is true, we've been trying to organize this for about a year, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm doing really well. And, I am busy as well doing my own show, and which I really, really like. And I've learned a lot from it as well. And it's been quite a journey, because it feels like, time is speeding up, because in reality, it is 13 months that I've been doing it. And I literally uploaded my 91st podcast before we even started the show. So things are going well for me, man. And I'm loving doing podcasting. It's something that I never thought I would do, but I truly love it. And it is something that I was told I have to do. And I'm enjoying the ride and meeting a whole different array of guests who bring many different aspects to this whole understanding of what our reality is, who we are, what we are, where we come from, and all that kind of stuff. So really excited to talk to you tonight, because we have similar viewpoints on a few things. So it'd be interesting for us to, have a little deep dive, because I'm normally on the other side, because I've not done a podcast where someone has interviewed me for several months. I've been just doing all the interviewing, so it's kind of cool to be back on the other side as well, because that's how I started out.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm honored to be that guy. Guys, go subscribe to Todd's podcast, The Conscious Man 7. He's on Rumble as well, on Instagram. Yeah, dude. Last time we talked, I believe you were talking, like, I don't think you had started it yet. For anyone who doesn't know, Todd was on episode like 14, 15 of Schizo News Network, maybe 13.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So known Todd for a while, been meaning to get him on. But I don't think you had started it yet. You had been talking about it, and you're super stoked. So I'm glad it's been going well, man. And you do like health and fitness as well, right?
Yes. So I am very much what you would call a hybrid. I am a mixed bag of many things, and this is due to my upbringing, because my father is very much a jack of all trades. So I got that from him, and I would say, started this entire journey through fitness. So I am an online fitness coach. I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. And on the podcast, I talk about health, fitness, obviously exercise, diet, nutrition, extraterrestrials, Anunnaki, spirituality, consciousness, psychedelics,
Right.
geopolitics, government. One of the new topics that I started to delve into is the social dynamics between men and women, which is a very, very interesting topic.
That is interesting.
Very. And yeah, I think that's basically everything to do with self-development is what my podcast is about. So we have many different angles that we cover on the podcast, but it's everything that is related to the evolution of human consciousness, basically in a nutshell.
So you touch a lot on these ancient civilizations and these ancient stories. You also talk about the esoteric and the occult. You talk about the like metaphysical stuff, the supernatural, all of that. Yeah, man. No, I think we talk about a lot of the same things. I have a show with Adrian West. Shout out Adrian. And we don't do it as much as we should. Elohim etymology, and I think I talked to you about this show. Last episode we did was episode 13 on Ninurta. We were just starting off. We had done like 3 episodes on Thoth, a few on Marduk, about 4 on Enki, 1 on Enlil, and 1 on Anu. We're just kind of going down the pantheon, kind of telling the story. Obviously, using reference from some of Sitchin's, some of his work, and Lawrence Gardner, also Adrian's book. Damn it, I forgot. He sent me the cover for the new one, but I don't know if I have it on the computer. I'll have to see. Pantheon 1. He had wrote this a couple of years back. Him and his co-author Benson Saili, who lives in Botswana. Hell of a guy, man. Really knows his stuff when it comes to these ancient, these ancient stories. And so we use that as some reference to, but like we haven't had any guest on or anything. And so, I was actually going to probably talk to you at some point tonight about that as well. See if you'd like to come on. But man, when did you first kind of like give me the story of you first getting into these ancient, let's call them for now, mythologies, right? Ancient Sumer and, antiquity, that whole, what was your journey to getting there? Because for me, it wasn't immediate. I dived into a lot of other things before I started going down those rabbit holes. But it was like, as soon as I started looking into all that stuff, that's when I started to, I guess, get a little more spiritually enlightened. I understood my spirituality a little more, maybe.
Yeah. So for me, my journey in this, I would say, because I've had a lot of phases in my life, but this phase that I am in now basically started in 2017. And that started when I had life-changing surgery on my foot. And I say life-changing because that moment when I had the surgery, when I awoke from the surgery, I knew my life had changed.
What happened to your foot?
So in 2005, I had an accident. I fell off my motorcycle and broke my ankle. I broke my tibia and fibia. And
I've fractured my fibia before, man. Sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. And I had complications from the break. And I was told that at some point I would need another surgery. So in 2016, that surgery was required because the complications that I had, they got to a point where it was untenable. And basically what happened is that I had to get this surgery. So when I woke up from the surgery in January 2017, I knew that my life had changed. And basically, I a lot of that surgery caused a series of dominoes to fall in my life. I ended up, I was being redundant at the same time. I ended up losing a lot of money. And then I also, basically got fat and depressed. And I felt like I felt like I was going through
You
depression.
fat?
I was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Dude, you're jacked. So I mean, hey, I can't really see that, but I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man. It was a really, really tough time. So that surgery caused a series of dominoes to fall in my life. And basically what ended up happening is that I, was going through such a horrible time. And one of my mates, a couple of things happened. One of my mates, because I was in England at the time, and he gave me 2 books to read. One was called The Road Less Traveled, and the next one was called The 5 Love Languages. So when I read those 2 books, those books basically caused me to realize that everything in my life was my fault. I had to take responsibility for things. And at the time, because I was on crutches and I was at home, I went through the whole process of messing around with social media, just posting stuff. Because I was always into conspiratorial stuff, because I
Right.
kind of understood things because I was sort of that guy that was into the economic side of things, right? The economic conspiracy side. So I was into cryptocurrency, precious metals, mining stocks, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I had a very good understanding from then that the system was actually a fraud. So basically what happened is that after I got tired of just posting stuff on Facebook and stuff, my mate gave me, shout out to you, Peter, he gave me those 2 books. And then what happened is that I was also following a YouTube channel. At the time, it was called Global Witness. Now it's called Willing Witness. And I actually had him on my show. I interviewed him on my show. Very interesting conversation.
What did you say? You said it was called
Before it was called the Global Witness, and now
The
the channel, now the channel is called the Willing Witness.
The Willing Witness.
Yeah, a guy called Derek Bros. Very, very, very interesting guy. Very, very knowledgeable as well. And basically, he went through a spiritual awakening himself, and he was bringing out, videos as well. So every video that he would bring out, it really opened up my eyes to what was really going on. And I started to wake up at such a fast pace before all the things that happened, like the pandemic happened. So he would be talking about books to read and stuff. And I was at home. I didn't have anything else to do. So I bought the books and downloaded the books and started to do audiobooks. And the first book that I picked up to read was a book that my father actually gave me many, many, many years before. But I was only half reading it because at that time I wasn't really interested into books.
Right.
So anyway, I picked up the Lost Book of Enki. And when I read it from the beginning, because I was halfway through, but I used to read it at such piecemeal that it never really made sense. But when I picked it up this time and I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. I was like, okay, so this guy is trying to say that the stories in the Bible were not really the original stories, and there are these other beings that came here. So then I was like, all right. So then I picked up the Nag Hammadi. I bought that book, and then I started to read that. Then I bought Pistis Sophia, read that, and I was like, gosh. So then I just kept digging and kept digging and kept digging, and all this time now, I was going through my process of awakening, and I got back another job. It was made redundant again. Then, lost a whole bunch of money because the crypto crash came then that time. So I lost 90% of my value. It was really tough, man. So my head was all over the place. My head was spinning. And then the only way for me to cope was to go to train in the gym again, because I started back at the gym, and read books. And
that's good that you did that and you didn't start
drugs and
drinking because man. And I just quit vaping a little over a week ago, so that's good. I was going to bring that up as well tonight. I've been wanting to tell somebody. Feels good. But
Yeah,
anyway,
man.
sorry.
So I basically started to just read these books, and at the time I just couldn't understand, because what would happen is that I would be finding another book to read, and then Global Witness would drop another podcast or another video talking with this book, and I just
So
started
you
to
go buy that book while you're reading this book, but this book is right here. So you got to at least read the first chapter, right? And then you start reading that book. And now you're reading 2 books at once. I'm reading like 7 books right now on Patreon with so I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, man. So I started to read like tons and tons of books. So basically I was just like, and at the time, because I was a civil engineer at the time, and I was like still trying to look for work, but that was the first time that I was like, there's not really much work around, right? Because civil engineering is pretty much the industry that's the litmus test for the economy. Because where there's no cranes and there's no construction, it means there's no investment, which means that there's no money in the system. And in 2018, I was started to see the beginning signs of the global crash that we're in right now, right? So anyway, I just kept, at that time I was like just trying to find myself, because so many things were happening to me at the same time that my head was spinning. And the only thing that would keep me sane was literally going to the gym and reading books, right?
Yeah. And you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anything or anyone else, right?
Absolutely. So what happened then is that during the later stages of 2018, and I started to even though I was going to the gym and reading books, like there was something inside of me that felt very broken, and I couldn't really figure out what it was. That I felt this void, this emptiness. And there was this guy that I followed on YouTube at the time, and this is when YouTube was still pretty good. You could find stuff, and he was having a conference in Acapulco, Mexico. And it was the biggest, we would say, libertarian, freedom-minded conference there is on the planet. It's called Acapulco. And I went there in 2019, and wow, it was like, I felt like I'm amongst my people. The energy was great. And I basically I knew that when I went to that conference, that it would be something they call ayahuasca. And I knew that I needed something to help me to figure out what was going on in my life, because what people are going through now in terms of searching for purpose and trying to find themselves, I started this process 8.5 years ago, right?
Right.
And it got really, really dark for me. So all the darkness that people are going through now, I went through that deep, deep, deep darkness, this feeling of emptiness, like my life has no purpose, all of that stuff.
That's the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call it the refinement process, because
right.
You again refined like the gold, and basically when I took the ayahuasca medicine, so when I first took it, I didn't really even travel. I didn't have a trip, but I had a lot of purging. So, and then the shamana that she sung over me, she basically did like a clearing for me, and she said to me that my Christ consciousness light is the brightest she's ever seen in all the work she's ever done. At that time I was now trying to understand even that, and I was like, okay, whatever that means, right? So then I stayed in Acapulco for a month, and then I went back to the UK, and then I was like, okay, I can try to be an entrepreneur. So I started that journey, and one thing led to the next, and then I ended up becoming a fitness coach. So then now more trials and tribulations, because the fitness business started to take off, things were going well, and 2020 came, boom, the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then now the gyms are closed, everything was all shut. So like everything disappeared from me. So then I had to pivot and then started to train at home. So basically what I did is that I adapted and I learned to do calisthenics. I taught myself calisthenics to keep fit, and then also like, post content, just to try to get clients. And basically, I still kept on the same path of trying to understand all of these things, kept reading even more and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened is that one of my mates, he was studying to be a shaman, and his teacher, his wife, she was one of the organizers for the Anarchapulco conference, and they were going to have a spiritual day for the digital summit that they had. And my mate, he said to her, well, if you're gonna have a spiritual day, why don't you invite Todd? And she was like, why? He's like, well, don't you ever hear what he talks about? She was like, no, not really. She says, you gotta get him on. He knows the stuff. He's very much into spiritual stuff. And that's how I got my start. So she called me a Sunday, I'll never forget, and she asked me if I want to speak. I was like, yeah, of course. So I prepared a presentation, and that's basically what started me. I got good feedback, and then I asked her if I could speak on the main stage at the Anarchapulco conference. She said yes, and that's how I basically got my start in podcasting, because after because I did a talk about the Anunnaki and spirituality and linked it back, and then at the end I plugged my fitness business, because I was like, well, if I were to speak on stage, well, why not? So and to be fair, I showed them, well, fitness is a way to start to work on yourself, because in reality, getting the body in shape is the portal, is the opening into having higher levels of consciousness, understanding things, because exercise puts more light into the body. It makes your body vibrate higher. It helps with your mindset. You beat depression and you fight it, I would say, when you do exercise and all that stuff. So anyway, after I spoke on stage, a few people came to want to talk to me, and they liked my presentation. And I saw a guy called Jason Christoph, and me and him, we joke about it because I politely invited myself on his podcast. And literally, that's how I got my start. And Jason's been gracious enough to come on my own podcast as well. And he dropped it like it's hot. And that was a really good show as well. I still get people telling me about that show. And that's basically how I got started. And then from there, Jahan Sator heard me from the Boundless Authenticity podcast. And I did like 3 shows on his podcast. And basically it was even planned. It just happened. I did like all the rounds basically in the podcast scene. I went on to White Rabbit, went on to Nate, Reality Czars.
Yeah, shout out Reality Czars. Love the boys over there.
Yeah, I went on to Janet's podcast, The Purple Janet. I went on to Heidi Love. I did like probably like 25 different podcasts before I even started my own show.
Well, yeah, you also went on Tinfoil Hat, right?
Yeah, I went on Tinfoil Hat as well.
That's where you went on Tinfoil. I think you went on a couple months before me. That was a banger, man. That was really a banger.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
Did you get a lot of pushback in like the comments and stuff?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah, me too. When I did mine, dude. Yeah, like and now they haven't stopped. They migrated over to my Spotify, and they keep going. So
the thing about that show, Tinfoil Hat, where what I realized that this is something that happens to most people when they get into religion. Religion is, I find that you're allowed to question every other conspiracy that there is on earth.
Yeah.
But when it comes to religion, that's a no-no. And from anyone that really understands how the system is that the 3 main religions that rule the planet are the religion of money, organized religion, and the religion of government. Because people that are followers of these 3 religions all have the same mindset and view on the world, in the sense that those religions can't be questioned and everything else can be. So I got a lot of pushback from people from the things that I spoke about. And basically, what I would say is that I think that because I was so controversial, that, you know what I mean, I am not sure if he would be able to handle another conversation, because I was just getting started.
I think he would. I think Sam would love it, because it was very controversial with mine too, man. Just a lot of the stuff that I was saying, people aren't going to agree with you. And I mean, it's fine. Everyone's going to have their own opinion, but, hold on, give me 2 seconds. Hey, if you hear any screaming, it's just my kids. So
No
just
problem.
ignore it, and I'm sure you haven't. And so now here I go talking about it again. And if I didn't talk about it, sometimes no one would know. So it's good to see everybody here. Let me give some shouts out real fast, Todd. We got Chode Man, the Tartarian here. Good to see you, Chode Man. JC, Jonathan. Let's go, Jonathan. What's up, dude? Pat, what's up, Patrick? Connie's streaming. You can go see him. Hawk Job, Big ZD, JC, Johnny Leach, Meaty. What's up, Meat Cavern? Joey, Bill, saw Valkyrie earlier. Bug Fights. What's up, guys? Thank you all for coming and hanging out. Yeah, dude. I mean, I got clean off of opiates back in 20. I guess it would have been 2018 now. Yeah. And as soon as I started to, I got a better job, I started to work out and stuff. I started to eat healthier. And, I started to get into the same stuff that you've been talking about. And it fascinated me because I had already, been reading the Apocryphon, the book of Enoch. 2 seconds. Sorry. I lost myself. We got a new freezer, so.
You say that you were reading the Book of Enoch and the Apocryphal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I was reading. I was getting into the Epic of Gilgamesh and kind of like discovering these much older stories, and reading them made me understand everything else so much more. Like it kind of put it into context. When I was like, wait a minute, I recognize all of this. And so then when you start to see these different names, I got interested in the Pantheon, right? So I start making these Pantheon sheets, these little charts. And dude, I mean, after 2 years, you really, a lot of research. You make some crazy charts. But that's what really, I sent those to Paranoid American. And I was like, hey, what do you think about these, dude? Because I had been messaging him and talking to him about starting a podcast. My wife had told me I should start one because I'm sure she was sick of me coming home every day from work being like, babe, check this out.
This is the same thing that happened to my mother, because as I was starting to learn all these things, I'd be sending my mother all the stuff.
I'm just now, my mom is now asking for stuff for me to send. So at first it was probably a little overwhelming for her. My dad thinks I'm crazy, but but I'm hoping, I think my son gets me. I don't try to like gray pill him too much. I kind of keep him in his own world. He's a kid, but I don't want him to just grow up ignorant of all this stuff, right? Like I think we're at a point in time now where our children should maybe have like somewhat of a gnosis of this stuff that's been hidden from us. You'd
be actually surprised, these children today are extremely smart,
Yeah.
and these children have more connection to their higher self than we did at their ages.
Dude.
And these kids, like, if you put this information in their hands from a young age, they will end up teaching you stuff and seeing things that you didn't see, because they vibrate at a different level. And this is the reason why they like to jab the kids so much now, because the jabs are the things that retard children and retard and slow down their development, slow down their ability to connect to the higher self, to see their imaginary friends, to be able to see through the veil, because they see things at a higher level than we do. And they're going to end up becoming our teachers, because they are of a different sort of like evolution of us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, it's said in the esoteric traditions that children are clairvoyant up until the age of 7, like at their at the highest potency, right? Because I think it's at that age that they are getting like you said, jabbed with all these vaccines, and they're not eating the healthiest food. They're starting to go to a school that's more like a prison than a school. You know what I mean?
More like a public indoctrination camp.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's an assembly line. I mean, we've been real, like my son goes to a private school, but we're real close to homeschooling our daughter, dude. Like, I don't know the way that shit is going right now.
It's just propaganda that
it's all it is,
right? Like, when you actually look at the entire system, right? I must give credit where credit is due. The enemy has designed a system that is so well oiled, so well thought of, so strategic, that you literally get children from the cradle to the grave. Because if you think of the systematic indoctrination, dumbing down, and destruction of the children, it is insane. So when the kids first thing first, let's start from the very beginning. The way children are born is incorrect. Women should be stooping or bending down or sitting in a chair where the baby comes out vertically and not lying down. That's the first thing.
Really?
Right? Yes.
Now, why is that?
Because it is more natural for a woman to stoop down, like how she would be if she's going to pee outside. That's the exact position she's supposed to be in, right? Secondly, when the baby is born, they cut the umbilical cord, and that is the next thing that they do. So the baby is born in trauma, the woman is in pain, and the first thing they do is they cut the connection to what kept the baby alive.
They're not supposed to cut that yet, right?
No. They're supposed to clean the placenta and leave the baby attached to the placenta until the baby pulls it off or it withers away. The baby will know once, because the placenta, if you look at a placenta, the placenta has the tree of life on it. Literally look at the tree of life. Yeah, dude. Look at Google it now. Go and look at a placenta, then bring up the tree of life, and you see that it is that same thing. What that does is that the placenta gives the baby all the antibodies and all of the consciousness that the baby requires for this lifetime. So when they cut the umbilical cord from the baby, they are literally stopping the process of the baby receiving all of the information it needs for this incarnation.
Dude.
Right? Yep.
Oh my God, man.
Tree of life.
It looks like Yggdrasil, or whatever you want to the tree of life.
Yep.
Man.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's like how Yggdrasil has the serpent coiled around the bottom. That's like what the cord is, right?
It's insane. Wow. Insane. And what you do is that's what we call basically a spiritual birth, right?
Right.
And what you can do is you can actually take some of the stem cells from the placenta as well, and the stem cells actually help with cell regeneration and what's not.
That's what I've heard, and that's why they take it immediately now.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. That's what
Do you think
do.
they sell it like behind the hospital or like some black market?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some rich
elites.
elite woman
Correct.
is like sucking on your placenta. Like, what the hell, dude?
Yep. Now, then what they do now is that after they cut the baby from a baby's umbilical cord, they slap the baby on the bum and then squirt a liquid in its eyes. So what that does now is that gives the baby trauma. And in a lot of cases in human beings, that gives us abandonment issues. So this is one of the reasons why social dynamics between men and women is broken, because we all have trauma. Not all of us, a lot of us have trauma from birth in terms of abandonment. This is why a lot of people go through their life searching for partner to partner to partner, because we're looking to fill a void. So this whole system that they designed is insane. Then what they do, they put the baby away from the mother, right? They don't even let the mother hold the baby yet. They go and they do all these weird stuff to the baby, prod it and prop it.
And the mom the whole time is out of it, just like, where's my baby? Where's my baby? Because it's natural to want your baby after that.
Absolutely. So then now, when after they're done doing what they're doing, then they will have the baby with her. But they don't even allow the baby to stay with her for a very long period of time. Then they take the baby away. All of this is the bonding time that the child should have with its mother. That is not happening, right? So it messes up humanity and human beings psychologically, right? Then, even before the baby has an immune system, they jab the baby with whatever, right? So how can that make sense? Where you're jabbing the baby, think it's hepatitis C or B, or one of those. Like,
it's Hep C or I
think it's Hep C, dude. That's insane, right? You're giving a baby a jab for something that it doesn't even have an immune system to even counteract against, right? So this is why when you look at the curve for autistic children from 50 years ago to now, it went from 1 in like 100,000 to by 2030 is going to be 1 in 2. So that means that 50% of all children born after 2030 will have some form of autism and or retardation, right? This is, like I said, the entire system is engineered and designed to keep humanity down. Now, let's say you have a normal child, right, that grows up. Then what they do, they introduce technology. So the parents now that don't know any better, right, they give their children a lot of technology because we are addicted to technology ourselves, right? Because we are just following trends and that's what we see on the telly. So the children are being indoctrinated from the tablets and what's not. So I remember I was going up with this girl once and the children were watching, I think it was Peppa Pig. I don't know if y'all have it here. You all have it in the United States, but we have it in England, Peppa Pig. And there was
we have it here.
Okay.
I'm familiar with Peppa.
And there was this one episode and they were singing something. And the thing is that it was in freaking Spanish, right? And basically it was very lewd stuff, right? And it was sexually orientated, right? And I had to tell her, listen, don't let them watch that anymore. And don't even let them sing that song because this is sexually motivated, right? So what they're doing is that they're seeding the consciousness of the children from birth for debauchery and all of this lewd, coarse stuff, right? Yeah. So then now, even if you make it through there and you don't get corrupted, you go into the school at 5 years old and you're basically taught how to be a slave, right? You, like what you were saying, up to 7 years old is when the children will have their imaginary friends, they'll be clairvoyant, they'll be seeing things that we don't see. And from the time you get into school, the school dumbs them down and makes them into slaves, robots, and automatons so that they don't know how to think and they're told what to think.
And
right?
They start school so young that like they should still be with the mom.
Facts.
Yeah, dude. That's wild. My wife speaks on that all the time. She's thinking about getting a part-time job at the daycare that my daughter's going to go to. you know, I think it's at this church by her mom's house. My son went there. They're actually really nice people. But yeah, man, no, it is it is trauma from childhood. That's wild. And I never even thought of it like that from the whole baby's perspective.
Dude, I can tell you something here now that's even crazier. So have you ever heard of something called dolphin births?
Dolphin births?
Yeah, dude. This one is wilder than that. So I don't know how I managed to stumble upon this, but like I said, in my journey, I ended up just finding things randomly. So there's this very, very interesting phenomenon that dolphins know when a woman is pregnant. And you can check this. This is a fact. It is illegal in the United States to have dolphin births. Now, listen to this. When a woman goes into the sea or a pool and there are dolphins, the dolphins will go freaking berserk, but in a good way. The dolphins pick up that she's pregnant. She could just even be 3 months pregnant and they will pick it up from the sonar and they circle the mother. There's this instinct that they have that they try to protect the mother. So if they sense or they think that you are trying to harm the mother, they will attack you. So what they do is they circle the mother and then they start making a lot of noise because obviously they communicate via sonar. And I was reading this thing where these women who've had contact with dolphins while they're pregnant and or had dolphin births, all of their children have exceptional abilities. All of the births were not painful, and all of the children are extremely gifted in something. All. It is insane. It is illegal for them to do it. I'm talking about ESP. I'm talking about telepathy. I'm talking about having higher levels of consciousness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was this place, I think it was Hawaii, that this guy was doing it. And there was this one lady that I read. She had 7 children. 6 were from dolphin births and 1 was not. All 6 of the children are gifted and special children. When it's special, they have some sort of gift. And the one that didn't does not. And every single lady that I was reading up, like on the blog, they said that they had 0 pain. Right?
That's incredible. Now, were the dolphins there when they delivered the baby? Or the dolphins just like
some of them were. Some of them were. And
shit.
Dude, it is crazy. The dolphins just know. So the excuse that they use is that the dolphins would become dangerous, but it's actually false. The dolphins protect the mother and they circle her like that, right? To protect. And if they think that you're a threat, they're going to kick you out of being in close contact with her. I've seen actual dolphin births where they would be literally by the woman's mother and they would just be making a noise. And then the birth is quick and the mother has no pain or anything like that. It's insane.
That is insane. I don't know if you read any Credo Mutwa, or if you've heard about him. He was friend. He was a Zulu shaman, friends with David Icke. Dude, he talked about the first beings that apparently came in contact with like his tribe and apparently some of the first beings on this planet had features that were dolphin or whale-like.
I would give credence to that because my research has shown me that dolphins are some of the first seeding races that came here. They're some of the, because I think they're human beings are a combination of many different extraterrestrials. One of the founder races were dolphins. Another ones were the felines, so like the equivalent of
the Lyrans, right?
Lions, yeah. So we are a combination of many different, even reptilian, the Dracos. We have some of that in our DNA. So human beings are actually a combination of many different races. And this is why we have different color skin, because they all have different color skin. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you want to see we're aliens, just look in the mirror and you'll see one.
So does like each race have like a different creation story?
That I don't know. But what it seems to be, when you look at the story from the Nakamati, when Prime Creator created himself, he had to create the universe so the universe would create him. This is why you can't have the chicken without the egg, because religion tells us that everything was formed from form and void. So form and void means that you have a form and you have a void at the same time. So the chicken and the egg exist at the same time. So if the Father, Mother, God, Prime Creator, whatever word you want to use, was there from the beginning, and it was really nothing, and it became conscious, it means then that in order for it to create itself, it had to create the entire universe to confirm its existence. And in doing that, then it had to create derivatives of itself to have more understanding and more consciousness to what it really is. So you had first mystery, second mystery, triple powers, Barbello, Sophia, Zoe, etc., etc. And when you come down, you came down to even Yaldabaoth, and then who came from Pistis Sophia?
The Archons, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then it's through the Archons then that you end up getting these control races and the Anunnaki and the Draco reptilians and the Lyrans, etc., right? So basically everything comes from Prime Creator. So what it is then is that because Source created derivatives of itself to be able to learn what it really is, because everything is created on for free will, and there was like an error code, this is what it looks like. So the Matrix movie is a very good explanation of what it is. So there was an error code, which is what you would be equivalent to Yaldabaoth. And because of that error code, all the other things came from that error code, right? So so basically this is how you end up getting like the false matrix, you end up getting the false spirituality, because it's only trying to create a copy of the error, but because there's an error in it, they have to use some of the actual pure consciousness and invert it, because the true consciousness would have a structure, an order, and a law, and they take the order, structure, and law and manipulate it to create the false matrix that we live in. So in order to do that, then they end up doing things through decree and hierarchy. So what it means then is that they're just copies of what the original is, but because there's an error in their code, it means then that you end up getting a Neo all the time. So their job is to try to keep getting rid of the Neo, which would be equivalent of the Christ, the Christic Sophia consciousness.
The Nous, right?
Whatever word you want to use, it would be the self-correcting code to bring back everything back to alignment. So this is what is happening to humanity right now, where the code, the matrix, is starting to break down because people are starting to awaken, right? People are starting to realize, hold a minute, something is going wrong. So the entire matrix that we have is a duality system. So every time you see that people wake up, they have to come with more stuff to try to push down people, because it has to work in total harmony. If the Christic consciousness is allowed to rise, the entire matrix would disappear and they would lose their control. This is why you have the battle that we have going on right now, because they're trying their damnedest to maintain the balance so that they can keep control. It's insane.
Right. So how do the Anunnaki play into this?
The Anunnaki,
because I tried to relate the Anunnaki story to the Nagamati, you know, the beginning Sophia, right? But now you just made me realize that it's a completely different entities. They're older entities. It's a much older story.
Yes, it's a much older story. So what it appears is that the Anunnaki are just the newer overlords that we have now. and there seem to be beings before them, because the Anunnaki really are just a collection of different races, because they all have different colors, because the Anunnaki are comprised of people, beings from the planet Nibiru, the Draco, reptilians, some of the Lyrians, some of the Palladians that fell, some of the Arcturians that fell, all the different star systems. They basically became the Anunnaki, because the Anunnaki are just like what you call the royal bloodline of these people that broke away to conquer. So they do everything through war, through power, and through force. So this is where they try to create the system through force instead of it through love, compassion, kindness, and teaching. They are so far removed from source that they became vampiric, so that they need to slaughter or get slaughtered in order to feed themselves. So the Anunnaki are just the present ones now that we know about, but there seem to be entities and beings far greater than them, but the stories are very, very similar. I would say the Archons would be what the Sumerians call the Anunnaki, and the ones and the people that like the Dogons, they call them the Namo. I would say that they're equivalent to them. Then you have the Hopi and the Navajo, they call them the Ant people. I would say that they're equivalent to them, right? What they do is that they change their names regularly, even for the Hindu Vedas, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, all of those seem to be have very similar stories to the Sumerian tablet stories and the Anunnaki,
It's like each culture took this one story and shaped it in their own, right?
Yeah, very much so. Because when you read the Vedas, they talk about the Vimanas. The Vimanas are flying cities, right?
Right.
And then they talk about having Brahma weapons. They talk about, the pyramid wars. They talk about god killers, They talk about, in the Vedas, it talks about the sky gods, that their gods came from the sky. Well, the Sumerians, the people in Mesopotamia, they spoke about their gods coming from the heaven, right? So the stories are very, very similar. And what all of the stories to me shows me that what we live in is very complex. The enemy has designed a system to keep us trapped, keep us confused, and keep us lost. And there are many different levels that they've done, because they've hijacked the money system. So the money that we have is fake. They've hijacked the religion, the spiritual aspect of us, and that is held by the Vatican. They control, and the money is controlled by the International Bank of Settlements, the Rothschilds, and the World Bank, the IMF as well. The spiritual part is held by the Vatican. Then you have the education system that is controlled by the Rockefeller Foundation, right? Then you have the health part that's controlled by Big Pharma, right? And then you have the science part that's controlled through DARPA and technology, right? So we have all these different aspects of humanity that have been basically hijacked and taken over. And the sole purpose is to keep us enslaved. Dude, the system is so good that we pay taxes to keep us enslaved, and we do it every day. So we are paying we are actually the prison guards, and we are paying each other to enslave us, right? And we're doing it willingly, right? It is absolutely insane. It is insidious when you think about it. This is why it takes a lot of work and effort to be able to overcome the trauma, the fears, the challenges that you have to just have an existence here. Because if you think about it, right, prior to 1971, if a man could support his entire family, have 2 cars, a medium-sized house and still take his family on holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, the money, the purchasing power of the money went down, right? So what did that do? That had to force the woman into the workforce. Not that, and it was a con when they were trying to tell women that, they're being oppressed by men, X, Y, Z. No, there were some men that were bad and they were treating the women badly, yes. But the man could support his family. So what that meant is that the wife could take care of the children, she could supervise the children, and even though television was first coming in, the children used to play, have toys, make their own toys. They had creativity. There was no debauchery that what we see going on. There was no so much antisocial behavior. The children were a lot more well-mannered. Yes, please. No, thank you. Yes, sir. Good morning.
They don't even hear you now, it seems, when you talk to them, because they're so, their brain is still focused on this thing, right? This thing that they're holding.
Absolutely, right? So it was a real systematic approach, right? So then now, if you have mommy and daddy working, what does that mean? Who's raising the children? Because I'll show you something. I think from memory, it was the mid-90s that it became a problem to have children at home by themselves. And if not, you would call that neglect and child services, protection service, all that kind of stuff.
CPS would come and take the baby.
Before then, children would go home from school alone and there'd be no adult in there. And the kids would just out there playing until mommy and daddy come home, right? So what that meant is that the TV, the technology at the time, was raising the children. So then the children got indoctrinated with all these weird ideas that they were pushing through the back door because mommy and daddy are not there to supervise the children, right? And then what they did now is that they introduced crack into the ghetto. And then what that did is that took the fathers out of the household. So that means then that they had single mothers having to raise children with no father figure. And what people don't realize is that fathers are very, very important after the age of 7 years old for a child, because that's when the children start to develop the personality, and that's when they start challenging the mothers. But if the father is there, especially when it comes to a boy, he ain't gonna be able to do that stuff, right? And then if you get a son that is 13, 14, most of the time he ends up being taller than his mother. It's going to be very difficult for her to actually basically control the women, right? So this is, if there's no father figure there, what happens to the boys? The boys end up being gangsters, thugs, pimps, everything bad, and the women end up on the pole, right? And then the pole has graduated into OnlyFans and hardcore pornography, right? So we have a broken society because it was designed that way. It was designed to keep humanity in a state of negativity so that they are distracted from the fact that they live on a prison planet and that they're paying for their own slavery. That is really the crux of the matter that a lot of people not realizing. And now the chickens are coming home to roost now because things have gotten so bad that people are starting to be like, hold on a minute, something is not right. So now you're finding a lot of people going through their refinement period or the dark night of the soul. They're trying to find their purpose. Some people are realizing that all the money that they're making isn't making them happy, and they're feeling a form and a void inside of them, you know? There are people that are leaving these six-figure high-paying jobs because all they're doing is drinking, doing drugs,
watching TikTok.
Yeah, and they're not filled with any purpose, right? Because there's something inside them that is telling them something is not right. This is not what we were here. I'm here to do, right? So we have a lot of challenges going on in the world right now. Where humanity is at right now, it's not even gotten, it's not really, if you think the pandemic was hard, wait till what's to come. It's going to get worse because we're going to just have a mass consciousness like that, like take off, because scripture talks about as lightning strikes in the east, as so shall it be seen in the west, which is the return of the Son of Man. And the return of the Son of Man is a consciousness. It is not Yeshua coming back, because he said, if they say I'm coming back, don't believe them. If they say I'm here, there, or over there, don't believe them. He's not coming back, because we are all the sons of man, right? We're all
The Saul, oh man, right?
well,
Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Solomon. Which is funny because, you know, this day and age, you have people running around supporting a country, waving a flag that portrays, you know, the hexagram of Solomon. And I don't think that they know what these symbols really mean that they're throwing about, you know?
No, they don't, because in reality, what they're doing is that star is the star of Remphan, right? Now, if you want to find out where that comes from, if you go to Amos chapter 5, 26 to 27, and it says, but ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, and Chian, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. That's one translation. Another translation is, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your God Remphan, the images that you made to worship them. That is the exact symbol on that country in the Middle East that when you talk about, you get censored, right?
Oh, yeah.
And fun fact for you, that same symbol is on the top of Saturn, which is actually just a coincidence, accidentally on purpose, right? And that Saturn is also referred to as the black sun, right? So it's a lot deeper than people think. And Moloch, from what I have, my investigation seems to be more aligned to Marduk.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so the worship of Saturn, do you attribute that? Do you attribute that more to Enlil?
More Marduk.
So Saturn you would attribute to Marduk.
However, there is a link with Enlil through Kronos, because
Being
Kronos,
L, right?
Yes. So Kronos is the keeper of time, and Enlil also had links to Kronos, which was also known as Saturn. So this is the thing with this we would say mythology, where these beings seem to have taken titles at particular times, and from one pantheon to the next have changed names and metamorphosized themselves. So in some times I would say is Enlil, because Cronus is also known as Saturn. But then the star of Remphan, which is Moloch, and Moloch was more Marduk. And Marduk is the one that loves the child sacrifice. Because if you look at all the places that they had child sacrifice, which is the Aztecs, you had it also in Babylon with Moloch. They were literally sacrificing their children. And he had different names, right? Huitzotl, Bel as well.
Yeah.
So they had like very different names. So I don't think that you can always pin it down to one particular.
Right.
Yeah. So it was Huitzotl for the Aztecs. So he was the sun god, and he was also the god that used to do all the human and child sacrifice too.
Because I related Marduk, when it gets into Egypt, and this is, based on the stories, to the sun god, and then it kind of gets passed to Shamash. But because they were that younger class of Anunnaki, like that younger generation, right? Like Marduk, you had the Ajiji or whatever, the second fall. Marduk was their leader. Well, I mean, obviously along with Semyaza, but that's a whole other story. But then you had Shamash was kind of their last leader. Yeah, man. No, I know exactly what you mean. And me and Adrian have actually been talking about that a lot lately. How, these attributes are attributed to different deities at different times. And so
Yes.
it is a lot to keep up with. But,
Yeah.
but when I think of what we were talking about with the worship of, this one star or whatever. Yeah. When I have, put it into my perspective, you got Enlil El, then you got Marduk, also Merodach, or Bel. I mean, because we also have another theory, and I don't want to. I'm trying to think because I don't want to spoil too much, because me and Adrian have talked a lot about what's in the second book, and I keep like throwing these spoilers out there every now and then. But that Nanar Sin was the god that was worshipped as Allah in the
Correct.
Islam religion.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So-
So we are on the same page with a lot of things, I think. And you're the one that kind of we got Dr. Corbo in the chat. Shout out Dr. Corbo. He kind of said the same thing you said about Inky being more related to Samael, which
Yes.
really helped me
Yes.
earlier on in my research. Inky falling before his son, obviously. But you mentioned the monetary system earlier, also known as Utu. Yeah, Utu Shamash. That was in Babylon that Utu was the sun god, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really interesting, because when you I have a sort of bit of a genealogy map as well, and you can't always pin down every single god, because they some have like different types of attributes at some point at different time. So even like in the Greek pantheon, I would say Poseidon is more akin to Enki because of the water, right? And then I would akin Zeus more to Enlil because of the thunderbolt, right? And so there are so many different types, and even when you look at the book of Enoch, I attribute Azazel to be Marduk.
Yes.
Now, Azazel is a very, very interesting character, because he actually changed his name to Gadriel. So he put the title. So Gadriel, Gad, if you take off the rel, Gad becomes God. So in reality, I would say that Marduk is the god of this world at the moment. And he is the one that anointed himself on high and called himself God by giving himself the title Gadriel, because in the book of Enoch, Azazel is the equivalent of the scapegoat. So in that story where it talks about, I think it was when Abraham went to kill his son, and then they had a scapegoat appearing. It was a ram. And the Bible said, attribute all sin to Azazel. So attribute all sin to the scapegoat. Now, when you look at the book of the book of Enoch, Azazel taught humans war, meteorology, the tactics of war, and he taught women face painting. So he taught women makeup. So all of these are the things that end up corrupting humanity. And then as you read more, he gave himself the title Gadriel. And I would say that the Talmudic Jews are the ones that worship Azazel Marduk, right? Because I attribute him to be the god from the star Remphan, right? Because the star of Remphan is one of his symbols, right?
Okay.
And when you actually, it gets very complicated, because at different times they have different attributes. So you can come and say, well, this entity could also be that character. So I would say that at that time, I would say that when they were talking about Azazel, they were talking about more Marduk because of the attributes of war that he was, and the stuff that he taught, face painting, metallurgy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me and you align on that 100%. With what you think about Marduk and what I think about Marduk, and everyone who's been watching my show for the past year and a half knows that. So glad we're finally getting to talk about it. But you had mentioned earlier the higher self, right?
Mhm.
What do you equate this to? Like, oh, and guys, we just passed the top of the first hour. Be sure to like the stream. Go follow Todd on social media and all that good stuff. Thank you all for coming and hanging out again. But yeah, Todd, what would you say the higher self is? What's a like, if I didn't know anything about it at all, what's just a basic definition?
Okay, so to explain that, let me take a little step back so I can come forward. So the way the whole universe seems to be created is created in terms of frequency levels, harmonics, densities. And a human being in the third density or third dimension is the lowest level for a human being. And every density has a different frequency. So every frequency has a different octave. So it means then that you can't actually see that density or that reality, because in our present form, we can only see 0.0003, I think it's 35% of light. So 0.0003.
We live in the most crystallized form of matter, right?
Yes. So we vibrate at a very low level. So the way the universe works is that there are different levels of frequency. So to explain this very well, if you take water and you freeze it, it becomes solid. When you put it out at room temperature, it becomes liquid. And when you heat it, it becomes steam or gas. And if you capture the steam, it falls back into a container and it becomes water, and you put it back into the freezer, it becomes ice. That is the explanation of the different levels of frequency. So what that means is that there are different versions of ourself at higher frequencies than where we are in the third, because for humans, hue meaning light, and man meaning the body, the man. Mm-hmm. This is the lowest level that we can get. So as you go to higher levels, you have more of a light body. Your body becomes lighter until you basically disappear. So the higher self is you at a level that is so high that you can't see it, but you're connected to it through your oversoul, right? And the more that you embody into, you allow the oversoul to descend in you, the more connected that you are. So to explain a little bit what your higher self is, have you ever had like a thought or a voice that come and say, hey, Jules, go and close that door.
Yeah.
Go and turn off the stove, right? That is your higher self. Now, I got a question then, and I've never asked you this before. Has there any time happened where that same voice or higher self told you to do something and you didn't do it?
Yes.
And what was the outcome?
Not anything positive.
Good. So your higher self is you at another frequency that watches over you and tries to guide you. Now, the thing is that we humans get all the guidance and the signals, but we ignore those signals, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens then is that in order for you to become more in tuned and aligned with your higher self, or to realize, I like to use the word realize, because it is always there and you can't separate from it, because it is you and you are it. you need to do certain things that remove fears, traumas, eat better food, do things like meditation and exercise. What these things do is that these things cause your body to vibrate at a higher frequency, which opens your consciousness to be able to connect and receive information. Now, there are times where your higher selves will just ignore that your state of consciousness the way it is to protect you, and it will shout at you, don't cross the street, right? Because it senses immediate danger. But there'll be times where you'll be like, you know what, maybe you should go and do this, and maybe you should do that. And just like you said, you ignore it and it isn't positive, right? So your higher self is really you at different levels. And it's what I'm going to say right now, people will say, oh, Todd, that's just a movie. If you want to understand what your higher self is, watch the Dr. Strange movie with the multiverse, right? That is a very, very good explanation of what the universe is made up of. Different levels of you, because he was trying to go back to save particular parts of him, and he'd be too late at the right. So that was him going from one density, one frequency to another. Because the multiverse is exactly how the entire universe is made up of at different levels. So you at a high level is watching over you and give you signals, because there's really no difference in terms of space and time. Time and space are really the same thing, right? There's no separation. It's just a matter of perception. This is why when you look at quantum physics, it talks about the observer and the observed, and the consciousness reacts when it's being observed because it is already there, but you don't realize it's there until you see it. So then it reacts differently. So this is going into quantum string theory, quantum physics, string theory. So it very much, it confirms consciousness, spirituality. And this is why they got us to focus on religion, because spirituality and spiritual science are really the same thing, but they separated the two to basically dumb us down and make us not very smart. So your higher self is you at a different frequency that is there to protect you and to guide you through, so that you can go to another level or connect into another level. Because the whole point of being on Earth is to come here, have an experience, learn a bunch of stuff, and go back to source. That's it.
And through this higher self is what people use to connect with the Christ or the Holy Spirit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there's probably a lot of Christians out there who aren't living or even listening, not living on that higher frequency or following their higher self, that yet they think they have a connection, when really, I don't know, man, when you look at it, it seems like, I don't know, just a lot of people, it takes a lot to obtain that. And people don't want to do the work in life, right? Like they're kind of stuck in this one place, but that's how it's kind of part of the indoctrination with the religion though, right?
It's like you go to church every Sunday, sit in this pew, and you pay your tithe, and then you go eat lunch afterwards, and that's that, right?
Yeah.
There's no like esoteric or deeper meaning to spirituality for a lot of people that are a part of any religion, if you want me to be quite honest.
Well, the thing is about religion is that religion sells salvation. It doesn't matter what brand of religion it is, it's all the same thing. When you go to the temple, the synagogue, the mosque, the church, whatever word you use for it, what are they doing? You have to give tidings. They're coming around with a collection basket, right? All of them. So what they're telling you subconsciously is, give us money so that you can be saved. So you're paying for salvation. And then these guys are taking the money, and there's no accountability on how they spend the money, There's no breakdown on where they spend it or invest it or what they do with it. And in most cases, the preacher, the imam, the rabbi, the whatever, the swami, whatever word you want to use, that's how they're eating, you know. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of money in religion, right? This is why they're so popular, because it's a meal ticket, right? The religion is not there to help you. Religion is there as an intermediary, right? It is there to basically stop you from ascending. And there's something that a lot of people don't realize. If you look at most religions, there is a form of a headdress on it. Nuns have something on their head. Muslim women wear a hijab. The men wear a tam. The Jewish men wear a yarmulke. The Pope wears a tam as well. But he's actually a Jewish, a Jesuit. He's in the Jesuit order. That's why he wears a yarmulke, right? You have the Sikhs that have the turban, right? So most of these religions, they have a form of a headdress. And what that's doing is that's capping your consciousness. That's stopping the connection between you and source, right? So what they're doing is that they're limited. This is the allegory behind them putting the crown of thorns on Yeshua's head. They were trying to cap his consciousness. So they put this thing on his head to try to force him to think the way that they want him to think, right? And that is the allegory that people miss in these religions. They have all these caps and these headdresses. They stop you from actually ascending, connecting to source, because all those people that wear those things are followers. And if you're following the religion, it means that you're being held and bound into dogma, which you are not allowed to question, right? And I saw a very, very interesting clip today on YouTube, and it was this guy, I think it was in Malaysia, and he was asking the Imam Zakir Naik, who was a fraud anyway. He was asking Zakir Naik. So he said, so in Islam, in the Quran, it says that there's no compulsion in religion. He said, yes, this is true. He says, but why is it in Hadith it says that he who changes his religion must be killed and punished? So think about it, right? There's no compulsory religion in Islam, but if you leave Islam, you should be killed. So there's something else that I know that you do a ritual to get into, normally through blood or oath, and you're not allowed to leave. Oh, wait, what's that? That's a gang and that's a cartel, right? So in reality, Islam is just using mafia tactics to keep its followers. And on the other side of other religions, they use shame, guilt, and fear. Oh, you can go to hell, right? So it's all to try to keep you in there through dogmatic statements.
People, have fear of hell, and that keeps them in that box, right?
Correct.
Or fear of what they don't know, fear of the unknown. And I get a lot of pushback, for being a follower of Christ and like reading into the occult, and people, and I'm like, well, I mean, this stuff is actually given me a deeper understanding of that relationship that I have. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the thing that most Christians fail to realize. First thing first, most Christians don't even read the Bible for themselves, just like most Muslims and most Jews. They don't read their scriptures, so they don't know what is in it.
They can carry one around, but that doesn't mean they read it.
They don't read it because they're only regurgitating what their priest, rabbi, or imam told them, right? Secondly, when you actually go in to read what Yeshua said, you literally have to disregard every single thing that he said in order to be a Christian today. That is the oxymoronic thing about it. To be a Christian today, you have to ignore everything he said. This is why he said he called them the lukewarm Christians, and they talked about the Church of Philadelphia, the lukewarm church, which is talked about in Revelation, right? Because they're neither hot or cold. They're neither believers or non-believers. They're just following a narrative and a bunch of dogma, right? most religious people today do not read their scriptures. And if they did, they would leave their scriptures because they would realize that they're being lied to, right? Now, this is the thing about even the Bible. When you look at the Old Testament, you have a lot of rape, murder, and pillage. And yet still, that same God is telling you, do not kill, do not do this, and do not do that. But he comes and contradicts himself, almost like he's schizophrenic, right, in the Old Testament. And yet still, people come and tell me that that's a loving God. So if a God is a loving God, why is he going to command his people to go and rape, murder, and pillage? Just look at Numbers and Deuteronomy and Exodus. You've got sex slavery in Exodus and everything, right? What do you do with these scriptures? Oh, well, Todd, that was it. But hold on a minute. So if a person were to do those things or command people to do those things, we would say that he's a bad person. So what are we giving a pass to God? Crickets. Oh, well, you don't really understand how you want to come and judge God. I'm not judging God. I'm just looking at the attributes. This is why Yeshua said, you shall know them by their fruit. The fruit are the actions or the attributes, right? The tree is the person, right? So what that means then is that you have to look at the consequences of what, quotation marks, God told his people to do. He said to go and kill every man, woman, and child, even the creepy crawlies. That sounds like a really loving God to me, man. You know what I'm saying? So people are not asking themselves the right questions. What God are you serving? Just look at what's going on in the Middle East right now. We have a huge genocide going on in Gaza. And yet still we have some Christians are saying, yeah, bring it on. Starve them out. Get rid of them people. And I'm like,
Right.
hold on a minute. Isn't that not hypocritical? You know what I mean? Are you supposed to be trying to help?
Well,
Yeah.
these people are chosen. So, right.
Which God? You know
Which God chose this?
Which God, right?
Absolutely, man. Well, I mean, you get into the Canaanite pantheon, and Yahweh was a son of El.
Yeah.
So
Yahweh seems to
people
be a combination of Nurta and Enlil.
really. So it's almost like a trinity in a way.
Yeah, because what it looks like is that it seems to be a combination. I used to think it was only Enlil, but then I started to do a little bit more reading. I found a few things that they are attributes of Ninurta that come out of El. So it seems like if there's an amalgamation, and how we were talking about earlier, where it's like if from one set of people, they metamorphosized themselves, took different attributes, took different things, changed sometimes completely. So it seems to be a bit of a back and forth. But the long story short is that they ain't positive. They ain't trying to help humanity. All they want to do is have war and conquest, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not what Yeshua said. Yeshua said, my father, and there's a thing about even what Yeshua said. The original Aramaic, he was talking about mother, father, right? This is where when you look at the Nag Hammadi, he always talks about the mother, father, God. And in fact, the Lord's Prayer, when you look at the original Aramaic, he used the word called Abwoon, Abwoon, and that means birther, right? Which then translates into mother, father. So there's a very interesting translation for that, right? Which, let me see if I can find it here now.
See, your mom said, ask Todd about the purses. What the fuck is Marduk holding, and why are all these gods holding the same purse?
Okay, remind me before I forget. So listen to this. This is another translation of the Lord's Prayer, right? That came from the Aramaic. It says, O birther of the cosmos, focus your light within us. Make it useful. Create your reign of unity now. Your one desire then acts with ours. As in all light, so in all forms. Grant us what we need each day in bread and insight. Loose the cords of mistakes binding us. As we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Don't let surface things delude us, but free us from what holds us back. From you is born all ruling will, the power and the life to do, the song that beautifies all, from age to age it renews. I affirm this with my whole being. That's the Lord's Prayer. That was from a different translation. You see how different it is? He says, "O birther." So he used that word was abwoon, Abwoon, right?
Right.
So it's not necessarily "O Father." What they did is that to try to make it more palatable to the Hebrews at the time, because they were very male consciousness, they stopped using Mother, Father, God, and that's why they were just using the word Abba, which is Father. But Abwoon is really a combination of Abba, and Woon, which means womb. So it means basically Mother, Father, God. Right?
I've always interpreted the masculine and feminine being like, the masculine creator, and then the earth being feminine. But I guess the earth would still be considered like it would have a feminine, like certain kind of energy to it, right?
Yes, that's also another way to interpret it. Father Sky and Mother Earth.
Right. Okay.
So that's still correct, because even when you look at the Anunnaki pantheon, Anu being the sky god, then I can't remember. I'll have to look up for that there now. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But basically, actually, let me see if I could bring it up here because I had it on my computer. But
what were you saying about Anu?
Right. Let me bring up because I have a genealogy here.
Bye, Fire Pixie. Tune in the morning, Fire Pixie. Patreon. Do it at work.
Yeah, I got it. So you have An and Antu, right? So An being the sky and Antu being the feminine. These are the two primordial creator forces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then even when you come down another level, you have Antu, great mother of the sky, Namu, and then Anu, great father of the sky, Anum. So it really gets kind of like complicated because
before that it was like Kishar, Anshar, Lamu, Lahamu,
Yeah, so let me bring it up here now. So you had An and Antu, then they had children and they had Anib, and then Uru, and then you had Anki, and then you had Shagal, Anshagal, Anshar, Kishar, yeah, just like what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Alam, Enshar, Ninshar. So it gets really, really, really complicated, man. But
yeah, I mean, you find that word Shar everywhere used in their names, right? Also on, right? And that's what people don't understand. Like my name, Julian, right? That AN at the end of my name comes from all the way back in Sumeria, right?
Yeah, this is the thing, right? So I think when you look at it from a very high level, it is basically masculine and feminine energies that created the entire universe. And what the Anunnaki pantheon was trying to do was to explain a bit of the creation. Because I think that when they first started out, they probably had good intentions, but
then they started to kind of be corrupted, like man, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's almost like, can you imagine? Just think about it, right? You come, good intentions, you got these people, and you're teaching them stuff. But then, like as a man now, you're getting like, oh, these girls just come and giving you sex and worshiping you and this and that. You can start to be like, damn, I'm a god, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the man. And then obviously you can become more and more sort of like service to self. And then even the females as well, they're getting treated like these queens where they got people literally fanning them to keep them cool, and they could have all the boy toys that they want. You know what I mean? When they want, they can just have sex with their servant, XYZ. So they all got corrupted, right? And I think that as the corruption started and the ego became bigger and bigger, then it was like full on, you know what, let's just keep these people slaves because this is sweet here. We're getting free food, free sex. We got like these people worshiping us.
These people bring us this stuff, right?
Right. So it's like, why won't we fight hard to keep it? Right. So I think when you look at it, that's the most likely scenario, because this is what happens to humans. Look at all these politicians.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They saw humanity kind of advance, and so they were like, "Okay, we got to go behind the scenes." So because they're going to figure us out.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And so we have children with these women who, you know, these earth women. We'll just make them, you know, because who runs the nation? The priest, right? He has more power than the president or the king.
Pretty much.
You know, like the king, they listen to the king priest. And so like, why not, you know, instate your bloodline in that position to run, you know, the highest authorities in all these kingdoms?
Absolutely.
I would.
Absolutely.
I would, you know.
But this is it, right? Because it takes a very strong-willed individual that, for example, when a person, man or woman, they get a lot of money, right? Whether they work hard for it or they didn't, doesn't matter. The end is the same. When they end up getting a lot of money, they tend to have a much different attitude. Not all of them, obviously, because they're very nice people that have money, and I've met a few of them, but they all have this arrogance, this chauvinistic, this sort of like looking down on, quotation marks, peasants and all that kind of stuff, way of viewing people, right? And that seems to be just human nature, right? So the reason why we have that nature is because they had that nature and we learned it from them. You know?
We got our proclivities from them. That dude. Oh man, you're spitting facts, man. I've been talking about a lot of this lately, Todd. Like, I didn't want to just come after everything you said and been like, yeah, dude, I talked about that 2 weeks ago on this episode with this. Like, man, the synchronicities are really lining up. But I mean, yeah, no, you're right. They and this was their fall, right? Their fall from grace, because even they referred to a creator of all.
Yes, they did. And they said,
and they knew he would be pissed.
Yeah, because I think it was Gadzu. I think that was his name.
Galzu. He was the emissary from the creator. And I've seen artistic renditions that he had blonde hair, like kind of like a Nordic in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And even they said that, you know, they will have to pay for their wrongdoings, and they will have to, I can't remember the exact term they use, but the creator of all things, I think is the term they use, will judge them, you know, when it's time, right?
Well, he sent them there, and I'd say this, it's in my intro, you know, he sent them there to do a job, and they went against him, you know, they became the adversaries, these many Satans.
Correct.
Right?
This is why I use the word enemy, because they're more than one, right? Because exactly, Satan.
Well, you had some people that tried to keep us in touch with this creator force, people like Ningazita, right? But he had to do it through some of these mysteries, you know, through some of the symbolism and stuff that he knew that, you know, one day people would figure it out. And lo and behold, you know, I do an esoteric book review every Saturday morning on Patreon. And, you know, it's full of all this symbolism. Everything you see in these Anunnaki stories, it all is involved in the mystery schools, and it somewhat has a deeper meaning to it, dude.
Yeah, and before I forget, so that lady, was it Nancy, asked about the handbags?
I think it was your mom. That's his name.
Right.
Asked Todd about the purses. Yeah, because, you know, they have the pine cones, and I do want to get your interpretation of, you know, the pine cones, the watch, the purse. What was that all symbolic to you, or was it like, or were these tools that they used?
I would say that it looks like they're all tools because these handbags are found in Göbekli Tepe, Peru, and Egypt. Is it not Egypt? It's Mesopotamia. Sorry.
Right.
So these handbags, while we don't know for certain, because they're in these places and a handbag has stuff, I would say that it looks very much like if these are like the keys for creating a civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm coming with this is that, you remember in the Lost Book of Enki, and there's something talk about the Emmys, and
The Emmys that Inanna basically
stole
from Inky. Well, she seduced him,
Same,
right?
yeah. But she got him drunk, innit?
She got him drunk. Yeah. And he'd stick his dick in anything.
Anything, dude.
Anything, bro.
Dude, he shagged his granddaughter,
I know, and I'm laughing about it, but when you read these stories and you see that, you're like, wait a minute, am I reading the Old Testament?
Dude,
you know what I mean?
He shagged his granddaughter, and I think he shagged his own daughter as well.
Yeah. Anu, because Anu had this affinity for Inanna, right?
Yes, his granddaughter.
We don't know if he shagged her or not, but she
really
was his favorite granddaughter. I wonder why. Well, I mean, you have this like warrior princess, and then you have the other sister who is like this Hecate, queen of the underworld, right? Ereshkigal or whatever her name is.
But you know that Anu gave Inanna, Ishtar, Isis, the Indus Valley,
right?
Which is really India and Pakistan, right?
Really?
The Indus Valley is present day India and Pakistan, and that is the area he gave her, right? So,
yeah, I remember reading that he gave her the Indus Valley.
Correct. And the Indus Valley is India, Pakistan. That's how come they got the name India, Indus Valley.
Are we being lied about that location, or was it closer? Was the landmass tucked in a little more?
So the Indus Valley is a region that is big, is collectively, is not all of India and Pakistan, but it's part of it. It's part of it. The Indus Valley, yeah, go on. The Indus Valley is modern day India and Pakistan.
Okay. I knew it had something to do with the Middle East. I just didn't know how far over. So.
And he gave her that area, right? This is why the Hindus have a very good understanding of the fabric of the world because of Hinduism, right? So they received a lot of high-level information through Inanna, yeah?
From the Emmys that she obtained.
Well, it looks that way because those, while no one can come and tell you 100% what they are, I am just looking at the tea leaves and saying that in all of these three places, you have the same symbology. The watch, the wristwatch, right? Exactly. So I said the Indus Valley would be modern day Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but
Yeah. You're right though.
Yeah, man. It's mad. So those handbags, I would say, seem to be some sort of like some sort of high level stuff for creating a civilization, right? Because they all have the same exact symbology, and there's these three bags, right?
I didn't know if they held the mana, or if that had anything to do with it.
Even the wristwatch, I would say that the wristwatch looks very much like some sort of a device that can be for either manipulating time or
kind of like,
space.
yeah, dude. I was gonna say like an advanced Apple Watch, right?
Yeah, right. It looks like some sort of a timepiece to manipulate time and or space because it is a watch, right? So it's almost like if I'm tempted to say that device could probably help them to teleport and stuff like that, because the reason why I say that is that when you look at these movies and stuff, these people using these kind of devices to teleport, right? So
Mhm.
they're really putting everything in the movies and showing us what's really going on, right? And the pine cone seems to be the transfer of consciousness.
Well, that represents the pineal as well, right?
And it's at the back of the head, right?
Okay.
So they're sort of like injecting the consciousness into humanity, and then they're giving them like the keys to create the civilization. So the handbags look to be symbology for either the MEs or whatever it is to create a civilization, right?
Okay.
Because it seems to be like almost like at ground zero where like they're starting out, you know?
They said find a picture. Okay. I'll find a picture. What's a good this is time. I think Marduk has of course it's gonna show me the band. No, it was, I think it's Anu is the best depiction of.
But they're showing you definitely basically you would see there's one image where the tree of life, right?
You get Jay Brooks. He's got his watch.
Yeah.
Then his pine cone and his bag. He's got two watches on. Pretty sure is that Anu or Inky?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know.
The wings, I when I look at the wings, I think it symbolizes a higher being, and not necessarily like
physical wings, right?
Not physical
right.
wings.
It's kind of like the halo that people think angels. I mean, it's really just their, you know, that connection they have to the source, like what you were talking about, shining through. It emanates.
Yeah, and even like when you look at the headpiece, it looks like these horns, like the bull's horns, that they're all coming together.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of symbology going on there.
Yeah, even Moses is like, he's depicted with horns, dude.
Yeah.
Because there's theories he was an alchemist coming from Chem, right? Where alchemy was started. It's where we get chemistry, you know, that word. There's theories of him being an alchemist, and those being like, his connection from his temples, basically, right? Your temples on the side of your head to God, right?
True. The thing is, even the Moses story is not an original story, you know. From memory, I think
you're the second person to mention this.
I think from memory, the Vedic texts have a very similar story.
Dude,
the Vedas are an insane set of texts that the Hindus have, right? Like listen, these Vedas, right, have the blueprints for nuclear weapons. This is why Robert Oppenheimer, after he created the nuclear weapon, he says, "Now I am become death." That came straight out of the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
These Vimanas, they are literal blueprints, dog, of how to make these Vimanas. And they talks about they use.
So they were flying cities, because I thought they were flying crafts.
They describe them as flying cities.
Okay.
But flying craft would be the same thing, right?
Okay.
And they
just
talk about
big craft, I guess.
they talk about using liquid mercury and stuff like that, because that is highly energetic, and they also have these Brahma weapons that they're god killers. Mm-hmm. They also talk about even if you look at some of the architecture that they have, the temples they have in the Indus Valley, dude, we can't make those temples, you know, they carved some of these temples. There's one temple that's carved out of stone. The temple was carved top down. It is insane, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they would even make that again.
Dude, we don't have the tech, or let's put it this way, they're not revealing the tech to us.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I saw a very interesting video recently, and they were proposing that I think it was the Chicago fair that it had in the early 1900s. And basically they're saying that it was all temporary structures that they built. But in reality, I can't say in reality, but there's a theory that they actually destroyed the last sets of those highly advanced buildings that were created and then built back, basically nonsense buildings, because they wanted to hide the fact that beings before us had high levels of technology and sophistication, right? And it aligns with the whole Tartaria theory that they just wiped out that civilization because the tech
to
was
hide this kind of technology or the fact that we could even make these kind of buildings or anything. I mean, yeah, dude, it seems like it seems, because when you look at society and all that, I mean, you know, getting dumbed down, stuff is kind of digressing, right? And I think that's I think that's done on purpose.
Absolutely. Like I said, dude, it starts from the time we come out the womb. I showed how they do that. Then they get us into schools. And then they talked about how they took the father out the household, put the mother in the workplace, and what they could do is just indoctrinate us. It is such a heinous plan. The pharmaceutical industrial complex is run by Big Pharma. The spiritual part is run by the Vatican. The banking is run by the IMF, World Bank, and the Rothschilds, right? And then you have the new technology is run by Silicon Valley with the AI technology and all that. That comes out of Silicon Valley. So it's all of these facets of what would give us liberation, what would fill our souls, what would elevate us. They've just corrupted and hijacked and inverted everything. Like dude, like if you just look at Instagram now, like, I'm gonna make a call. In about, I reckon, 5 years, we can be seeing hardcore pornography on Instagram, though. Right?
I mean, you can find it on X, you know.
Yeah, it's on Twitter now, dude. It's insane, right? So Instagram is gonna become like that, dude. It's insane, right? But you see, what it is that what we are going through now is the classic boiling of the frog, right? You put the frog in the cold water and you put on the fire. He doesn't even know he's being cooked. It's only at the last minute he can realize, oh my gosh, I'm being cooked here, and then it's too late. And that's literally where we are now.
They're turning up the fucking temperature. And then whenever we start to hop out of the thing, they turn it back down. So we get comfortable, we get cozy, we start to kind of assimilate back. And it's like, you'd think after COVID, we would have already taken this country back, but that's neither here nor there,
Look,
in good time.
This is what I say. Unfortunately, a human being only wakes up when it goes through a very, very traumatic experience, right? And the pandemic was just a test, right? See you later, your mom.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
That was only the test. Now, there's some people that woke up out of it and others didn't.
There's some that fell into an even deeper slumber. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it's like it worked backwards. I don't know how that even happens.
Correct. So the thing is now is that we are about to have such a huge shift that it's going to scare people. So my take from reading the tea leaves is that I think the way they're going to really do it is the economic side, because the economic side is the side that will give people the most fear, because money is sadly the thing that we all think about all the time. Money is pretty much our God, right? It is something that we get up every day and we think about, whether you make a lot of it or you don't make a lot of it. it is always the ones that that make a lot of it are trying to figure out how can they protect it, and the ones that don't make a lot of it are trying to figure out how they can make it. So my point is that because we live in a fiat currency system, when the money fails, because it will, because all empires fail,
Yeah.
then it means that our entire value system is going to crumble. And then at the same time, you're going to have people losing faith in government because people believe the government is their friend, and people believe the government is there to help them. So when the economic problem comes and the government fails, then the religion is going to fail as well. So we're going to be bombarded with these three religions that disintegrate roughly around the same time, or it will be one after the next after the next. Either way, people are going to get hit so hard that their entire paradigm is going to shift. That is when people are going to wake up. The problem with that scenario is that it's going to create a very difficult time on Earth because there's going to be more darkness temporarily. And the people that are not doing the work on themselves now,
I was going to say what before, because we're coming up on 2 hours before we get out of here soon. What can people do to kind of not fall into that darkness?
So what people need to do is start to get themselves in shape. This is my take on it. Reason for that is that you cannot be depressed at the same time you're doing exercise in the moment. It is impossible, right? To be actually lifting weights, doing calisthenics, doing some form of exercise, and feeling depressed at the same time. The two energies can't exist at the same time. So the reason why I tell people to start to get into shape first is that it makes you to create new habits. Then from the new habits, then it means then that you become more open to receiving new information because you're vibrating at a higher frequency, so your mind becomes open. The other thing that I encourage people to do is to change their nutrition, because the food that you eat is basically poison, and the food that you eat is low quality energy. So you're not going to put rubbish fuel into a Lamborghini, are you? So
I'd love to get you back on sometime to talk about that.
Sure.
Because that's something that I kind of am trying to change in the near future. I don't eat terribly, but I don't eat probably like I should. And that topic's very interesting to me. So
sure, we can organize that. And then after you look at your nutrition, then look at your mindset. So this comes in from the things that you're consuming, the media, the social media, the movies, all of
music,
all this is programming, right? All of this is part of your diet, right? Is what your mind is absorbing. Then the other thing that you should do, start to read books, start to learn about these things, because not only does it help you to learn things, but it sparks your creativity. Reading allows you to use the creative part in your mind, because as you're reading, you're formulating images in your mind. So you're using the creative part of your mind. The other thing to do is meditation, and I can't stress this enough. Meditation is one of those things that probably should be mandatory in schools, right? Because meditation,
and people don't understand this, but meditation and prayer are one and the same.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Meditation helps you to disconnect from yourself temporarily, to go into an altered state, connect to your higher self that we spoke about, connect with source energy. It also helps you to have a temporary break from all the stuff that's going on in your mind. Then as you become skilled in meditation, you start to become the observer and realize that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just happening with you, but they are not you, and they don't define you. So then you start to learn that your thoughts and feelings are the two biggest creative powers that you have, right? So all of these are things together will help you to prepare for what's to come, because you need to prepare yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, and then I would go down to the other alleys and illies, like economically, psychologically, and emotionally, because when the collapse comes, we can just wake up one day and it happens, right? We're not, it's going to be like a thief in the night. You're not going to know when he comes. It's just going to come. So if you're not doing any work before that, you're hardly going to be thinking about doing exercise, meditating and stuff. The whole system crashed. Nobody's got anything. Money doesn't mean shit. You know what I mean? Everything that you thought had value and was real, you realize is fake and useless. So how are you going to be able to then handle that unless you actually start working on yourself? No, because to get into shape requires a change in mindset. It means having the belief in yourself that you can overcome, you can be disciplined, you can be consistent, and you confront your fears, because people either fear success or they fear failure, right? So this is why a lot of people self-sabotage. It's either one or two of those fears. So unless you start this process now to work on yourself, when these things happen, it's going to be extremely
you're not going to be mentally prepared
at all. You're not really mentally prepared. So those are my tips for people that really interested in doing that. And if this conversation resonated with you guys and you would like to start this process, get into shape, learn some of the things that I spoke about in this podcast, work with me one-on-one, I can help you to get into shape and also to level up your mindset and improve in other areas of your life. So if something like that resonates with you, you can hit me up on my Instagram at Adriano_246 or my name Todd Cave on Facebook, and send me a message. Let's see if you're a good fit for the Compound Body Training Army. I train people all over the world, from Norway to Australia to Canada, Europe, different time zones. So I help people all over. And if this conversation also resonates with you and you would like to start a spiritual journey, you would like to remove some fears and traumas, but you're not sure how, hit me up on my Instagram, again, at Adriano.
Pulling that up. Right.
Yeah, hit me up on my Instagram.
Boom.
At Adriano_246, or my name Todd Cave. And it will help you to get some magic mushrooms, because that will help you to connect to your higher self, to relieve fears and traumas and all that kind of stuff. And then if you like the work that I do, but none of those things appeal to you and you would like to support the work I do, you can hit me up on my Amazon store. We have some merch in there. The Amazon store is called Todd and Me. We have some cool.
I'm gonna have to get that link too, man. I'm gonna have to put that in the description as well.
Yeah, man.
I'll put all this in the description for anyone who's interested. And do you have anything that's coming? Like, do you have anything planned and shows? Shows coming up, or?
Well, I am. I just re-interviewed Geraldine Orozco, so she talks about loads of stuff metaphysical. So that episode should come out probably next week. I need to work on that from Monday. So sometime next week, around the week of the 20th of July, that should come out. Guy released the Walk and Talk today. But yeah.
Guys, y'all go follow Todd on his YouTube and on his Rumble. Here, thought I had your Rumble pulled up. There we go. I get too many tabs pulled up and then I can't focus. And, But let me, I want to pull it up so everyone can see where to find you.
Yeah, man. And like I was saying, if you would like to support the work I do, you can hit the Amazon store, Todd and Me. We have some cool tank tops, hoodies, shirts, and sweats. And one of the shirts that are in that store I have on today is called "Truth Isn't Learned, Truth Is Realized."
Oh yeah, hold on. We're gonna. So where do I go?
So if you go in my Linktree on my Instagram, you will see the merch store.
I found
Okay, I found it.
Right.
Here, let me pull this up real fast before we get out of here, man. I didn't know you had any merch. I have to get. I got some stickers printed that I sent out to all my patrons, but and guys, new sticker packs coming soon. Maybe Twin Peaks sticker packs. I don't know. Pull this Amazon up. Nice. Hey, give me a tank top, dude.
Yeah, man.
It's hot, so I'd have to get a tank top. I'll wait for winter and get me a hoodie.
Yeah, man.
I love this shirt right here, man.
Yeah, that's
Does it
what
say truth? Yeah, the truth is not learned.
truth is realized.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I
the other
love that,
one,
man.
I like the one next to that, the tank top. Your body hears everything that your mind says. Yeah,
It's
that's
deep,
pretty,
bro.
yeah, man. You know, I got some cool. My sister helped me design all them there, man. So
Hell yeah, man.
shout out to her, man.
Shout out, sis. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, man. Shout out to sis, man. So you know, if you know you're already in shape and you already done magic mushrooms and stuff, you can help support the work we do because it helps us to, you know, keep the the fire burning, keep the help with the editor that we have as well. And I have a little small team that work with me, and it helps us to keep getting some great guests on because the conversations that I have with people, not only that I love to do them, but they're very important now because people are going to be looking for answers, and I've been humbly blessed and asked to do this by higher self and source. So I just answering my call, and yeah, I have really great conversations as well on my show. So,
Yeah, man.
So really,
Well, dude,
really,
it was a pleasure having you on, and we're gonna have to do it again. I really want to get you on Elohim etymology with me and Adrian. I think it would crush, and I think you would really like it. Hanging out with a couple people who are into the same stuff that you're into deeply, and are exploring these new connections and finding new words that we like. It's wild, man. So I think you'd like coming on that.
I'm
Don't
sure,
know when
man.
the next one is, but
I'm sure, man. Yeah, man. Just hit me up, man, and we try to see if we can organize it, man. Because I had a really good time talking to you tonight, and I know that a few people probably learned a few things tonight, especially with the placenta tree of life and the dolphin births and stuff like that. So I just am blessed to be able to retain large swaths of information, and I can express it in a coherent way and not
yeah,
sounding too cray. But I do my best to explain it and to make it as simple as possible for people to understand, which is one of the gifts that I have. So I, try to do that to the best of my ability and always give thanks to the universe for giving me this ability and position, to do the work because not many people, who's that?
Murder the Media has rated. Shouts out Murder the Media. I don't know. I think I know them. I don't know. Maybe I don't. I've heard the name before. So
You got some interesting follower names, yeah.
always. Oh, you never know what you're gonna get with a raid. Well, thanks, Waythorn. I appreciate that. I gotta go follow them. You guys, well, y'all came over here as soon as we were gonna get out of here. Yeah, Todd, we got to get you back on. I'm planning some roundtables with some other fellow podcasters, a lot of heavy hitters. So I'm gonna try to get you in on that. Maybe we can schedule. I have to work on that this weekend.
Okay.
It's something new that I'm gonna be working on. Yeah,
Yeah,
gonna
man,
get like a panel of like 6 or 7 guys together with big podcast and just like go at it for a couple hours, just discussing new things and maybe disagreeing here or there, or
Well, obviously, because we can't, even in a relationship, you don't agree with the person you're going with 100% of the time, right? So I don't think that disagreement is a bad thing. What I think is that what we do is we try to just focus on the things that we agree with more, because it means then that we can help more people. But obviously, there's certain interpretations that people may have. And what I do is I tend to put things on the shelf. And the reason why I say that is that if I may not agree with your interpretation of what you're saying, I don't dismiss it. I put it on the shelf. So in the future, if I receive more information that aligns with that, I can just take it off the shelf, right? Because, you know, people seem to think that you have to agree with every single thing a person says or does. You don't have to, right? People are allowed to disagree. As long as you say, all right, unless the person is saying that a boy is a girl and a girl is a boy, those are absolutes.
Yeah, we don't have those people on the show.
Right. Then I tend to, you know, say, okay.
I would like to moderate debates, though. I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be fun for me. I don't know. Maybe we'll see about that. Yeah, guys. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. I'm sorry, Todd. I keep interrupting you. My bad, dude.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I prefer not to have debates. I just prefer to have conversations.
Right. Well, you know, some conversations can turn into a debate. So, but no, man, it was great having you on, guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us tonight. It was a banger of an episode. You know where to find me, Greypilled Pod on Twitter, Greypilled_podcast on Instagram. I have a link tree in the description, Rumble, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, greypilled.locals.com. If you want to support the show, you can also go to patreon.com/greypilledpodcast. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 Central, Esoteric Book Review, me, Season of the Rat, and Subliminal Messenger on there. Y'all come hang out, bring your coffee, and read some Manly P. Hall with us. We also are going to be finishing the last 2 episodes of season 2 of Twin Peaks this weekend. It is also my birthday weekend. I am turning 33. Illuminati confirmed. And Todd gave me the thumbs up. Yeah, man. Turned 33 Monday, so we're going to celebrate it maybe tomorrow night or something with the family. So don't know when we'll do Twin Peaks, but yeah, I will keep y'all updated in the chats and all that good stuff. Sunday Chaos is Sunday night, just so everyone knows. Me, Conspiracy Extremist, Not Nice Guy, and Nate from Reality Czars, as well as Season of the Rat. He is now a part of that. Some people have called it the Temu Tower Gang. I don't know. But we may have a couple guests come through on the show since it's my birthday. You know, maybe some people y'all like. You know, I don't know. We'll see. I got a couple lined up, so I think we'll have a good time Sunday night. Y'all be sure to tune into that. May have another show Sunday or tomorrow after the book review. Not sure, but stay tuned. Be on the lookout. And yeah, guys, I'll also go to paranoidamerican.com/discount/greypilled for 10% off your purchase. Yeah, waiting for my Illuminati box set to come in from Thomas. That should be arriving any day. Super stoked. And there's a couple more sticker packs that I'll be sending out this next week. Send about 4 or 5 out this week. So yeah, guys, thank y'all for coming and hanging out. Be sure to like the stream, share it. And if I don't see y'all this weekend, have a good rest of your weekend. And yeah, stay grey-pilled, everybody. Later. American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies. All of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers. They'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret society. All of these and more on our sticker sheets.
Explore the unique with Paranoid American sticker sheets. Unearth tales of cryptids, cults, and mysteries through each sticker. These won't last long. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
All American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies. All of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers. They'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret society. All of these and more on our sticker sheets.
What the heck are you waiting for? Discover the extraordinary with Paranoid American sticker sheets. From cryptids in the night cults out of sight. Each sticker is a unique find. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.